Hello and welcome. I'm Amritanshu Rai and you're watching Law of the Land on Sabha TV. Today we bring to you the Factories Amendment Bill 2016. To discuss the issue, I have with me Mr. Harbhajan Singh, Vice President General and Corporate Affairs, Honda Motorcycle and Scooter India, and also Senior Advocate Mr. Sangram Patnaik. Now for the headlines. The Factories Amendment Bill 2016 increases the overtime working hours limit in a quarter for factory workers. Central government empowered to make rules and orders in addition to the state government. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Labour and Employment recommends revisiting the provisions increasing overtime work limit. The Factories Amendment Bill 2016 seeks to increase the existing threshold of overtime working hours for factory workers. The limited amendments have been brought by the government to allow the industry to meet their urgent manufacturing requirements. The comprehensive changes in the factories law is still under consideration.
The inadequate duration of overtime was a huge hindrance for factories to complete their target on an urgent basis. The existing law does not allow overtime by factory owners beyond a limit. In order to allow the manufacturing sector to meet its commitment, the industry had petitioned the government to increase the maximum hours any factory worker could be asked to work overtime. The Factories Amendment Bill 2016 was introduced by the government to allow the manufacturing sector relief.
I think there was a need because the 2014 bill have a lot of issues and that will take a lot of time to be really creating a consensus on the floor of the parliament, and therefore I think it was a wise step that the government has come out with a separate bill giving freedom to the companies to extend working hours.
The Factories Amendment Bill 2016 seeks to amend Section 64 of the Factories Act by increasing the present overtime limit of 50 hours per quarter to 100 hours per quarter. The bill empowers central government in addition to the state government to make exempting rules and exempting orders in respect of total number of work hours on overtime in a quarter. The Factories Amendment Bill 2016 seeks to amend Section 65 of the Factories Act. The bill increases the limit of overtime from 75 hours per quarter to a maximum of 115 hours per quarter. The bill empowers the central government in addition to the state government to make exempting rules and exempting orders in respect of total number of work hours on overtime in a quarter. The amendment in the section adds the provision that allows central state government and the chief inspector on the approval of the state government to extend total number of overtime work hours to a maximum of 125 hours in public interest.
By increasing the overtime, first, it will affect the health of the person. Second, it will affect the family life of the worker by announcing the overtime. Third, it will have the social obligation he won't be able to fulfill if he has to spend time. The fourth is that in this country there is already unemployment, so much unemployment. It is not necessary that we should rather give more to the jobs to the workers than announcing overtime.
The Factories Amendment Bill 2016 was introduced in Lok Sabha on August 10, 2016 by the Minister of Labour and Employment, Bandaru Dattatreya. The bill amends the Factories Act 1948, which regulates the safety, health and welfare of factory workers. There have been several amendments in the Factories Act 1948, which includes changes in manufacturing practices, new technologies, and ratification of ILO conventions. To give effect to these changes, Factories Amendment Bill 2014 was brought, which is still under consideration.
The bill seeks to facilitate ease of business doing in the country along with enhancing employment opportunities in the manufacturing sector. The amendments increasing the overtime work hours per quarter are within the limit of 144 hours per quarter as prescribed in the ILO regulations on overtime and extra hours. With cameraman Prem Singh, Dipali Pandit for Rajya Sabha Television.
Certain safeguards protecting the interests of the workers, such as not allowing workers to work beyond 12 hours in a day, along with having provisions supported by the International Labour Organization framework, have been incorporated in the bill. Mr. Singh, my question to you straight is, now, what is the need, what is the concept behind using urgency as a pretext to hike the number of hours? What's the urgency? That bit, if you can explain to us.
See, at times, because of breakdowns or disruptions, the production required is not achieved. So when there are breakdowns, there is a constraint to keep people on overtime to set the factory right and bring it back to the path of normalcy. If that is not done, and if the shift is over, and if we leave it just like it, then the losses will be very high. And secondly, what I feel is that the working conditions in respective factories adds a lot to it. Means, how are the working conditions? If working conditions are not very good, if the working environment is not very good, even 8 hours working is detrimental to the health and existence of a worker. But if the working standards are as per the requirements of law, then additional working of 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours does not make a big difference.
You said disruptions. So these disruptions or upsets that a factory manufacturing cycle experience, is it because of their own internal situation or external situation?
Not really. It is both ways. At times,
what are these disruptions? What kind of disruptions?
Say, I tell you, like many a times now, the workers have to come through highways because of the factories being located at distant areas from the main townships. So there are jams. At times, the people cannot reach on time because of the climatic disruptions, or maybe of some accidents. So if there is a 3 hours, 4 hours jam, the production loss is there. At the same time, like there can be, like some breakdown. As the factories become old, sometimes some unexpected breakdowns happen. So that time also these type of disruptions happen. So it is both. It is internal as well as external.
So this basically allows you to, or gives you a higher level of dynamism to meet production
targets.
And what was the scenario before this? Why, I mean, was this the experience that the production was being hampered only because of not being able to take overtime? Is that the reason?
See, like it is not only that, there are also other reasons, because there are industrial relations problems also in certain regions which hamper the production. But yes, the mechanical faults or inability to reach the workplace on time also contributes a lot of losses.
Okay, I'll get you in, sir. So on the entire framework, this is on a very limited aspect. So the 2014 Factories Bill is the comprehensive change.
Very true.
That's the landmark change where it's going to be in tune with the modern times and contemporary times. But this limited aspect of increasing, enhancing over limit, and the point made by a gentleman in the story was clear that India is facing acute problem of unemployment. And if you enhance the number of hours, so, I mean, might as well employ. So where is the problem with the industry or the factories to go in for employment? Are they reluctant to go in for more, employing more people, newer people, and they want to make do with the existing lot and make them work harder? So what's the dynamics?
See, I'll tell you, according to me, their own opinion, right? But end of the day, it's a laudable, no doubt about it. And particularly when you were talking about since last 2.5 years, that, ease of doing business. If you cannot perform, you will perish. You have to compete with other countries also. It's not today we are sitting here very, cozy comfort environment, and we would say that no, we would not give this liberty, or at least that, the opportunity to the industries that they can perform to the best of their capability. Right. So that is one of the reasons, according to me, to say that no, unemployment, because the person who is working there for last 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, they are attuned to that circumstances and the environment and the milieu, right? To say that no, to give that enhancement, suppose somebody is working from 50 to 100 hours more, right? And he would get that compensation. But to say that no, because that will detriment, that will actually a factor not to give the employment, it is too much to ask for. I'm not in favor of that no, since it would be actually a deterrent factor not to give the employment to the next generation. So therefore, you would not increase this working hours. I don't think that's a logical conclusion, according to me.
So what you're saying is that the existing factory, these amendments actually empower the existing factories to perform at highest efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that they create more jobs rather than, taking burdens of employment. Is that the point you're making?
That's true. Absolutely.
It's time for us to take a break. Coming up, the Factories Amendment Bill 2016 does not negate the Factories Bill 2014, which is pending in the Parliament. Welcome back. The introduction of Factories Amendment Bill 2016 does not negate the pending Factories Amendment Bill 2014. The Factories Bill 2016 has been brought to bring in effect some important amendments which cannot be further delayed as per the government.
The Factories Amendment Bill 2014 amended the Parent Act to allow women to work in night shifts, provided safeguards are provided to them by their workplace. The bill amends the definition of factories as it exceeds the minimum number of employees in factories with power usage to 20 persons and minimum number of employees in factories without power usage to 40 persons. The bill provides the penalties such as jail term up to 6 months and a fine up to 3 lakhs or both if the employer does not adhere to the provisions in the bill.
We think it was unnecessarily and rather it was provocative like. There was no need. Why it was not necessary? The amendment government has brought, no way it is going to boost the industry, business or factory. So I don't find any justification why government has brought this one.
The bill was recommended to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Labour, which recommended that the term hazardous process should find a place along with the term hazardous substance in the proposed amendment. The provisions providing the extension of overtime work hours to 125 hours per quarter should be revisited as it can lead to harassment of employees and have a negative impact on employment generation. The committee recommends making sure the employers don't terminate employment of pregnant women and disabled employees or force them to seek VRS. The committee recommends that all the factory workers in a state should be brought under one labour commissioner.
It will be mostly the industry which will mostly will be benefited are of a seasonal nature, who get suddenly the job and then remain without a job for some weeks or few months. They are going to be benefited, so it is not going to be impacting the unemployed people much.
The recommendations by the Standing Committee seeks to ensure that the proposed legislation should guarantee security, safety, health and welfare of the labour along with facilitating their growth and employability.
Although the amendments in the bill are welcomed by the industries, but they are of the opinion that a lot more needs to be done to grant freedom to them. On the other hand, the labour welfare unions are of the opinion that the provisions increasing overtime work limit will be harmful for the health of the labourers. With cameraman Jitendra, Dipali Pandit for Rajya Sabha Television.
The Standing Committee report noted that more than 70% of the factory establishments in the country will be out of the coverage of the Factories Act and workers will be at the mercy of employers on every aspect of their service conditions, rights and protective provisions laid down under the Act. Now, that's a very substantial change. My question to you is, sir, that's a very substantial change, the present times. But the standing committee has clearly said that the extension of the hours overtime, or expansion of the hours, or increase of the overtime hours needs to be revisited, because there are, and the Indian factories are known to exploit. Okay, so they want the whole thing to be revisited. In view of this, what is your take? Because that's a larger picture that they are focusing on.
See, 2014 amendment and 2016 amendment, like you rightly said, it doesn't negate, right? It is just an addition, because you cannot wait for that discussion, approval of that bill and notification for a longer. It is just 2 sections, right? 65, 66, 64. So, end of the day, so far as this amendment that has, the bill is passed on 10th of August 2016 in the Lok Sabha, it is with regard to the increase in the working hours. So far as the discussion and the standing committee recommendation that whether this should be granted, should not be granted, that may be discussed or that may be approved subsequently, no difficulty. So far the 2016 Act goes, this bill.
Limited operation.
Limited operation. So what is the difficulty? And it has been discussed in the Lok Sabha.
Right.
And it would be done in the Rajya Sabha also. I am not saying that, of course, see, one way of looking at it is that, yes, it is a cosmetic change. It is not. End of the day, if you have that liberty to use that workforce for another couple of hours more, right? So it is good and benefit for the industry. And to say that, no, nothing is going to happen, how is it boosting the industry as such, they don't know. Or they don't want to know. That's a different. Just ask any businessman or entrepreneur that whether to provide these facilities in the statute, they may not avail that. That's a different thing. Suppose today I don't need it, I will not avail that. But particularly the large sectors, they are the beneficiaries because they would get that benefit, not at the cost of the labor. I'm not in favor of it. That the laborer are the sufferers of this world. No. Right from the first day when 1802, when this first Factories Act was passed by the Britishers, followed there by ILO regulations. Today we still stand by 12 hours. That is the maximum hours for the working day, right? It is not changed. So to say that it is in favor of the industry or it is not the correct approach.
So basically we are kind of getting diverted.
Absolutely.
But on the point of exploitation, sir, I mean, that's a valid, that's what the unions always want to safeguard against. That any chance or any scope or any provision that creates an environment for exploitation or possibility of it, that should not happen. Now, is that a valid concern or not?
Sir, it is like this, that it is a concern, but I tell you, like, now it is no more a possibility where things can be pushed under carpet. The world has changed. The communication channels have become much more dominant. People make video clippings of the incidents which were earlier hideable. So the way the world is opening up, the way we are getting
transparencies
is coming. I don't think that anybody should have this apprehension. I don't think that we should be much concerned about it.
So basically, you feel that the labor over the years has been empowered enough and is aware enough, is sensitized enough to safeguard and take care of his own rights. Is that what you're saying? And 100%. We don't really need those protective mechanisms to overprotect him.
Yeah.
That's the point you're making. That is the point. Is that the situation as of now, sir? Your experience?
See, I would tell you, like, Bertrand Russell once said that absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So there has to be a regulating mechanism. There has to be a statutory provisions for the industry as well as for the labor. There has to be a balance. It cannot be said that no, since everything is transparent, it should be left open to the industry. I'm not in favor of that also. It's an act, right? The Factories Act 1948. It started in 1802, just I say. But the end of the day, to say that there is no requirement of the statutory provisions, we will govern by our own conscience, is probably we are asking ourselves that we are now mature, we don't require any law, we'll go ahead without the law. That's not probably the correct take.
Moving on, my colleague Dipali Pandit spoke to Mr. Rajiv Kapoor, Chairman CII, Northern Regional Committee on Industrial Relations, and tried to get his point of view.
Do you think there was a need to come up with a new bill when Factories Amendment Bill 2014 is under consideration?
Not exactly, but I still welcome this step because it's at least a step forward. We are awaiting, the industry is awaiting for much wider sweeping changes. Industry is happy that at least something has happened. There's a movement forward. But I still feel, and purely from the industry perspective, we need more flexibility. The industry, which invests huge sums of money into the country, needs to be given this flexibility to decide how they want to meet the market demands. And market demands keep moving up and down. So industrialists should be given this kind of flexibility to manage their business. That is what is required. And I'm sure this is going to help the Make in India thing also, because this will add flexibility to the getting FDI into the country.
What impact will this bill have on the labour sector?
See, if you provide flexibility, it will generate employment, because the mindset of the industrialist is to have freedom to operate. The moment that freedom is provided, moment that flexibility is provided, the employment automatically comes in. Even now, the restrictive nature of the labor laws is generating employment in the contract labor section, but the employment is getting generated. May not be on the regular side, but on the contract side. When these flexibilities are provided, I am very sure that the employment generation will be increasing multifold.
Thank you, sir, for joining us on this discussion. It's time for us to end the show. You can email your suggestions and comments to law.rstv@gmail.com. You can also watch our shows on the RSTV page of YouTube. We'll be back with a new issue and a new episode. Keep watching Raj Sabha TV.